Tell us all about Africola and the magic that is in that restaurant.
Africola is about 10 years old, and it was started as a sort of love letter to my country of birth, which was South Africa. And, you know, like, for me to convey a story and a message through what I do, it was more, you know, building something for my kids as well to experience. And then it just, you know, ran away with us, and now it's this institution.
This juggernaut in Adelaide. Yep. You've got more than a few fans who work on this show, formerly of South Australia, who rave about the restaurant.
Sorry, there we go. Yeah.
There he is. Meneer Welgemoed.
That's it.
Mr. Welgemoed.
Welgemoed.
Is that where they ended up with? What was that? Welgemoed?
Oh, I think I've had my name mispronounced about 20 times today. So
listen, thank you so much for making time for a quick chat.
of course.
I've read so much about you in the last couple of days. I've watched the ABC News interview. And and then I obviously read the article. Let me just repeat that headline because I want to ask you about it. Africola chef Duncan Welgemoed expelled at 13, excelled at 34. Now there is a lot in that sentence. I'm going to ask you to please elaborate. But
sure.
Before we start, I'm Stephen Pfeiffer from Oorsee. Oorsee is a South African community app that I built for South Africans that moved abroad. Because
cool.
we all know it's hard to make friends when you just landed, and it's a way to soften the fall and to ease yourself into the broader community.
Yeah, fantastic. Now,
tell us all about what you did wrong. Why were you expelled?
So I think I was about 12 years old. We moved from northern Johannesburg to Mpumalanga, to Witrifuur, after my dad was shot in Joburg. So he was like, you know, this is too much, as you know, a lot of South Africans, you know about. But, you know, taking a kid out of northern Johannesburg and putting him in a Afrikaans high school, and, you know, listening to the bands I was listening to and all that sort of stuff. I didn't really get on with, you know, the classmates, if you will.
Yeah.
So, I had to, you know, fight every day. And, you know, they can expel me for fighting because I was defending myself. So they expelled me for Satanism instead.
Oh, my goodness. God, give me a break. Yeah, you look pretty, well, semi-holy to me.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the bands you were listening to?
9 Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson, Cradle of Filth, you know.
We all listened to that when we grew up. I mean, I was a big Korn supporter. I mean,
cool.
had this bad habit of writing Korn everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Benches. Look, it's part of being a teenager. It's part of growing up. But then
100%.
The second part of that headline, excelled at 34. Now, please, that's few words says a lot. Do you mind filling the gaps for the Oorsee audience? Because I'm pretty sure not all of them know you as well as I do right now.
Yeah. Well, when I was about 17, I moved by myself from South Africa to London. You know, I had a British passport, which helped. And, you know, got into working in kitchens immediately, basically, straight off the plane. But lucky enough to work in, you know, some of the world's greatest, you know, historically great kitchens. So, you know, did all that. Found a really fantastic mentor. We won a Michelin-starred when I was about, I don't know, probably about 19. He was about 23.
Wow.
So youngest team in the world to do that. The place was called the Goose at Britwell Salome in Oxfordshire, and it was owned by First, it was owned by a guy called Chris Barber, who was the personal chef to Prince Charles and Princess Diana. This was his first venture outside of the royal household. And then that was bought by a guy called Paul Castle, who was a very famous London property developer who was possibly killed by Russian spies, if you believe the sort of Netflix documentaries. Yeah, so that was my formative teenage years, really.
What year was that? I remember a story like I used to live in London before
Yeah,
we moved to Melbourne. And I remember just before we actually moved there was a story about it. But that was like what, 2010,
it
2012?
was. Yeah, yeah, it was about two. Yeah, I just moved to Adelaide, and then we got the news. So
Was that the same guy? And it wasn't his
yeah,
daughter.
there was a group of them. There was a group of developers who try to invest in a whole bunch of Katie deals in Moscow, and
Yeah.
they got screwed and they got assassinated.
Wasn't his daughter also attacked
That was another guy. So
yeah, it was
yeah,
older.
but no, Paul was pushed in front of a train, and there was no footage, so they assumed he committed suicide because he was going through some financial stress, and then it came out, all matter of factly, just watching, I think the documentaries on Stan or whatever. And I
Yeah.
was like, what the fuck? So, but it's kind of a weird thing of my life. I always get myself into these incredible synchronicity situations,
Yeah.
So
Well, you came out shining on the other end. Now, tell us a bit about your Adelaide venture, if I
yeah,
can call it that, because obviously it's much bigger than just a mere project or venture. It's a full-on business that has
yeah,
featured on national television. You've written books.
yeah.
Please fill the gaps. Tell us all about it.
So I met my partner in England, um, and she was from Adelaide, and we decided to get married. I'd never been to Australia. We kind of got married in Adelaide, and then a couple of months later, she was pregnant, and we had to make the choice. I didn't want to bring up a family in England. Um, it's not my home, you know. It's not the childhood that I had. And South Africa wasn't an option, particularly with someone in my industry. It's really fucking hard to find to make a dime, particularly like 2010, 2009, 2010, to support my family, too much unsurety. So we went straight to Adelaide. And as soon as I got here, I got a job as the executive chef of the Royal Horticultural and Agricultural Society, where I ended up meeting a whole bunch of influential people, as well as cooking for bands for big day outs and all that sort of stuff. And that's where I find a really strong music connection with was really formed through those years. And then did that for 2 years and had enough. That taught me heaps, because I put on a lot of festivals and curate a lot of crazy stuff around the world. It was really amazing getting those skills from working there. But I needed to get back into a restaurant. So I went into this little restaurant called Bistro Dom. Tiny corridor of the place, stuck together by blue tack and roach carcasses. Yeah, started to become a very cult hangout of a place. At that time, being South African, people always mask our sort of our personalities of being very aggressive and very arrogant, and it's no, you have a survival mentality, and that's the biggest thing. So I made a pretty big kind of break on the scene, just because people thought I was an arsehole that was good at cooking, but I had a message. I had a real big message then. I was staunchly supportive of South Australia. Everyone focuses on Melbourne and Sydney. I was like, fuck those guys. What we have here is the greatest city in the world. We've got the best produce. We've got, from the CBD, you've got the wine region 20 minutes that way. You've got amazing beaches 20 minutes the other way. What's not to love? And I did that. And yeah, got too big for that venue and decided to open up my own restaurant.
Now, up there that you said a lot. I want to respond on each one of those things. So first of all, I feel your pain about the UK. We moved for the same reason. The cost of living was just, well, I wouldn't say the cost of living was high. The salaries were low. So
the salaries are fucking low.
we would earn pittance, and then we need to still pay £1,200 a month in childcare because we didn't rebate or anything like that exists in Australia. So we would like barely make ends meet. So when the time came for visa renewal, so we had to renew one more time, then we can apply for leave to remain, and then we can apply for citizenship. And I told my wife, now screw that. And we had two options. We can either, well, three options: Canada, back to South Africa, or Australia. So we decided to come here, and goodness, I am so glad we made that decision, because Australia, with all its faults, they do take care of their people. They do. And if you work hard enough, you get rewarded for hard work.
Correct.
Like any country, there's things. But I mean, as South Africans, we learn that those things, especially the stuff that Aussies whinge about, it's a laughing joke. It's hilarious. What you said about Adelaide, I saw this really funny meme during COVID. It was two photos of the Adelaide Midtown. Adelaide during COVID, no people, and Adelaide outside of COVID, still no people.
Yeah.
But I've got friends who actually went there and they said, listen, South Australia is the best kept secret. You should go. And
that's the biggest thing.
We actually drove from here. We drove as far as Blue Lake, was it? Yeah, and I had a bit of an explore. It is absolutely gorgeous. I would love to see more.
Oh, it's one of the most incredibly diverse regions on the planet. It's, I mean, I've just come back from Cuba Cutie, taking a group of friends out there. I also work a bit with Indigenous people as well around the country. And they've never been to Cuba Cutie, and Cuba Cutie is, it's the weirdest town on the planet. Everyone lives underground. It's it's a magical desert. It's where all the opals come from, or the majority of the opals in Australia come from. It's an incredible place. But you got that, and then you got McLaren Vale, which is this lush wine region, and then you've got the Riverland with the River Murray, which is like the bayous of Florida. Then you got the Adelaide Hills, which is so European and magical, and and it's all it's all in one state. I mean, I haven't even covered quarter of the amazing things just within South Australia because of the diversity. But yeah, so I love when I was doing an interview for Penthouse a couple of years ago, and the editor was like, why the fuck would anyone go to Adelaide? It's like, you can get a drink after midnight. You can't do that in Sydney. Our nightlife is incredible. Comparatively to kind of that sort of police state mentality. So it's amazing. Yeah.
Well, we will, between my wife and I, we will definitely make a second trip. But this time, I want to go as far as Adelaide.
Well, when you do come during sort of Adelaide Festival and Fringe Festival. So the Fringe Festival, the Edinburgh Fringe. It's a big arts festival in Scotland. Huge.
I know Edinburgh.
But Adelaide is almost twice as big. So the entire city goes into kind of Mardi Gras stage for 4 weeks. We've got the tour down under that just finishes just before, and then it goes into, just parties on the streets every night for 4 weeks. It's pretty incredible.
Sounds amazing. Now, obviously you're in Adelaide to cook food. Now, I want to know, focusing on your cookbook. Now, your cookbook is South African recipes, right? Now, what I want to know is, living abroad for so long, how did those international influence your style of cooking?
Well, I mean, it's more to do with the technique. I trained in sort of classic French cuisine and modern British food. Fish and chips. I make a mean fish and chips. But those classic techniques and that discipline in craft. When you adapt that to something like African food, not just South African, but African food, there's no subtlety in African food. You have a braai, there's 64 different meats, the obligatory fucking salad, loads of bread, up, sheva.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And everything's either, salty, sweet, spicy, it's punchy, right? So
Lots of flavor, lots of flavor.
yeah, absolutely, lots of flavor because, everything has to have lots of flavor because if you're eating pap, that is the majority thing on your plate, I mean, generally, that's why it's been invented because that's what fills you up.
True.
So those things have to be really, really tasty to make that taste amazing throughout a meal, because that's your filler. Whereas, so the intellectual, there's no real intellectual, idea about sort of African food in that respect, it's almost survival compared to lavish gastronomy, and it's developed over the years. And, for us, we are a massively inauthentic restaurant, if I put a version of our milk tat on, I'll upset 3 billion South Africans because it's not going to be as good as what their grandmother made. So we steer away from authenticity in a very, very big way. But yeah,
I think South Africans were lucky in a way with their cooking. I spoke to someone about this last night because we were talking about potjie. Now I'm not a potjie pro or anything like that. I mean, my first potjie that I made turned out to be a soup. But the thing about cooking on fire, for instance, in terms of cooking on gas, fire has a way of changing the flavor of meat. Where I'll cook on gas a lot because it's just quick and easy. But when I do get the time, I will do a proper braai on fire, and it will be different because it's got that flavor, and that it's not a flavor specifically to South Africa. It's just familiar because that's what we grew up with. Me, especially being from the Michelin and the countryside and all of that. You watched my video clip that I sent you about the wiki, yeah? Now, your bare, brutal, honest rating out of 10, what will you score me?
Well, I mean, look, it's difficult because at the end of the day, I'm a fucking soti. So, what does my opinion really count for?
As a professional
As a
cook.
professional, I would say, I'd say texturally, without tasting it, it looked excellent. It looked a bit too liquidy in the pot, but when you served it, it kind of held together. It looked really moist and delicious. And no, I'd give that a solid 8.5 because I haven't tasted it. Yeah.
I hope the Oorsee audience paid attention. 8.5 out of 10. Can I have my apron, please?
Yeah.
Oh, that's do you see that? That's the end of the interview. That's all. That's the only reason I came. Okay, so selfishness aside, tell us a bit more about your book. So first of all, forgive me, because we were supposed to have this interview yesterday, so I have forgotten the title by now.
Sure.
Share the title, share a bit about your business, and tell us about yourself.
Right, so my new book that's out is called Cooking with Fire. You can grab it from every good bookstore, online, Dimmicks, Dillon's, all the things. Basically, it's a part travel book and part recipe book. There's one natural resource that they have in Australia, and that's the free public barbecue. And they generally all set up in incredible, nature spots and vistas and, beautiful green spaces in your city and regionally in camping spots. It's fucking amazing, right? If it was in South Africa, it would last 30 seconds, unfortunately. But here, they take really good care of them. So what I've done is I've written recipes that are easy to do in the back of your bookie or in the back seat of your car with ingredients that you can get from regional stores and local butchers to cook on these free barbecues when you travel Australia. And, so I've got all those places all earmarked out that people, really, really need to experience because particularly with South Africans that moved to Australia, we come from other European cities or North American cities or whatever. So we're still tourists in this country, so it's a really good opportunity to buy the book and explore you know, your own country, because to us it's, you know, we're still on holiday. Unless, you know, I've been here for 13, 14 years now, and you know, I discover things constantly, even in my own backyard, you know. It's, you know, it's incredible. And that book helps facilitate that, you know, travel around the country.
Right, amazing. So what I'll do is I'm going to link that book in the description. I'm going to link it in the post when I start sharing this video, and I
Amazing.
encourage South Africans to take the step and buy the book. I mean, South African cooking will only get you so far. I mean, so
Correct.
to explain what I'm trying to say is, so for the Oorsee app, what I did was I went on a hunt for South African dishes all over the internet, and I compiled a batch of them, and I put them on the app, and I call it the Oorsee cookbook. Now, it's obviously not my own, well, most of it. I do adapt some of it if I see, well, this is rubbish. This is not how my grandmother used to make it, so I will adapt it. And I was wondering, if I may, yes, cheeky, would you be kind enough in sponsoring us a recipe to stick? It's a digital.
Yeah, of course.
We'll stick it in there. We'll put your name on it, and
Yeah, absolutely.
the back of that recipe will encourage people to go and check out the full book. Would that be all right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll send it through to you tonight.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. Now, obviously, you're not just a writer, you also run a business. Africola, is that correct?
Yeah, Africola.
Africola.
Yeah, like Coca-Cola. Yeah.
Coca-Cola. Oh, but
yeah,
are you
Africola.
Cola or?
Oh, you know, whatever. You know, it's like my surname. Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah. And your business, you spoke a bit about it. It's based in Adelaide?
It is, yeah. So I've got a restaurant, Africola. We're 10 years old now. It's a peri-peri palace. It's a crazy place. It's one of the busiest restaurants in Australia, thankfully, even after 10 years.
Amazing.
I then have a kind of retail deli shop called Africola Canteen, where we do all our vegetables and salads for dine-in takeaway. But that's also the part of our events business. Now we do events pretty much all over Australia and, you know, parts of the world. I've been on an 8-week event cycle, so I'm a bit exhausted. I've had, you know, 4 events today, so I'm a bit exhausted, a little bit sick from my kids. Yeah, and then we go out. We've got, like, I don't know. We go to Sydney, Melbourne next week. We tour a lot with bands and celebrities and stuff, and artists. And we've also got a food festival next week. So it's an onslaught for Africola.
So just to explain for the what's your audience, he's not sick of his kids. His kids actually have. Do they have a flu or cold?
I reckon I'm in the early stages potentially of COVID, which is so fucking annoying.
You'd be wearing a mask talking to someone.
Yeah, like I'm fucking, you know.
Now, I just want to quickly touch on. You said you guys tour with bands, and I just want to acknowledge SA Events for putting me in contact with you. Is it South African bands you're touring with, or is it like international?
International, yeah. So we've got a lot of friends that tour the country. If they don't make an Adelaide trip, they use Africola as a bit of a pilgrimage. Because they know, you know, they're going to be super looked after, and even the music industry and the entertainment industry is very small. It's like, you know, the cooking industry, you know. So we do that, and when they aren't touring in Adelaide and they can't eat my food, they ask me to come and cook for them on tour. So
incredible.
Yeah. So we do that.
Pearl Jam? No.
It's to be honest, it's really weird. It's bands that I like. And I like Pearl Jam. No, you know, like we've cooked for Tool, Faith No More, Foo Fighters, Pantera. Look, I mean, like, you know, hundreds. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that's incredible.
Loads.
Wow. Now, I know Korn is coming to Melbourne next month, is it?
They are, with Good Things Festival, and I might be there because, so I might be backstage. I've got to work out my schedule for that one.
Please get me in. I just want to autograph. I mean, I don't listen to them that much anymore. I've 3 little kids. I need to play civilized music in the car. So I'm all about Peppa Pig and Baby Shark all the way to work.
Yeah.
every birthday I'm covered in rainbows and unicorns. You know how it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
It will still be like a major accomplishment to get backstage, just like even imagine interviewing Seether, being South African, Sean, Seether, obviously, old Saturn gas.
Yeah, he's like my second cousin,
You're kidding me.
Sean Welgemoed. Yeah.
Of course, the surname. You even look a little like him.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No,
Now,
we go way back.
Now, I interviewed Francois van Coke a few months back. I'm actually chatting with him again soon because he's coming here. Or he's going to Adelaide.
Right.
He's coming your way. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
yeah. We spoke a bit about him because I know the two of them are also mates. But I know what my next interview is going to be because you're going to give him a call right now and say, listen.
I think they're on. I think they're on tour at the moment. Yeah, look, I can always drop a line, who knows? Something could happen.
I'm not stressed. Look, I speak to a lot of I call them celebrities, but if you ask them, they'll tell you no, they're not celebrities. They just artists.
Yeah.
A lot of the South African guys, like I've recently spoke to Steve Hofmeyer, I spoke to Nathaniel, Bob van Blanc, and those guys. But at the end of the day, my Oorsee audience appreciate the working person. They appreciate the people that fought the same battle as themselves to make it abroad, get to know the people in the new country, what sort of obstacles that they face. That's the information that they want to hear. And every so often when an exciting interview like Nas Botha, I spoke to just the other
amazing.
Twice. And then they're like, oh yeah, that's a bonus. But they first and foremost they hear for people like you that actually pulled the hard yards, that put in the grind and made something about themselves. Now, as a exit topic, a quick one. What is your plans for the future? What exciting projects are you working on?
I just want to get past October, I think. It's like, I cram so much in my months. And so I don't know. I don't even know, to be honest. Touring the book, we've got quite a few international trips next year. I've left places like Mexico and the States for too long, London as well. So I think a bit more of that. And I think, like I said, I've crammed so much into my 23 years as a chef. I think the number one thing for me is to play more fucking Xbox and PlayStation with my kids, just do cool stuff with them, and take it a little bit easy, I reckon. So that is my number one thing. It's not going to fucking happen. It definitely won't happen, but
look,
who knows?
You had 4 events today. At least you should be getting your rest after this interview. And on that note, if there's nothing else you want to say, I would say goodbye. Goodbye.
Thanks, dude. I'll send you the recipe. Thanks so much for having me on.
Not a problem. I'm going to give this a bit of an edit, but you were amazing. You were great. So I don't think I have to do much. Do you mind anything in this interview that you don't mind me sharing?
No, go for it. Yeah.
I love it.
All good.
Have a good sleep. Cheers.
You too, brother. Cheers. Thank you. See ya.